Welcome to the Stateless Standard, where we hoist the golden torch into the musty vaults of monetary mischief, scorching the myths that chain us to fiat folly. Today, we voyage to Jekyll Island, that gilded sandbar off Georgia's coast, where in November 1910, a cabal of bankers and senators birthed the greatest confidence trick in American history, the Federal Reserve. Disguised as a duck-hunting jaunt for the very richest, this clandestine conclave forged a central banking monster that would devour liberty under the guise of stability. Was it a noble salve for panics, or a predatory ploy to crown private interests as the Republic's money lords? We shall exhume the tale with scholarly detachment and the cynicism it so brazenly begs. Picture the scene: the Gilded Age crests Wall Street, a coliseum of speculation, where J.P. Morgan, that mustachioed Midas, reigns as finance's colossus. The panic of 1907 still smolders. Bank runs cascade like dominoes, stocks hemorrhage 50%, the economy seizes. Morgan, ever the savior tycoon, locks bankers in his library, forcing a $25 million bailout from his own vault. A private putsch that exposes the fragility of a decentralized dollar. Congress, scandalized, summons the Aldrich-Vreeland Act for emergency currency, but the real fix ferments in secret. Enter Senator Nelson Aldrich, Rhode Island's patrician Republican, chairman of the National Monetary Commission, and whisper it, son-in-law to William Rockefeller, brother of Standard Oil's John D. No mere public servant, Aldrich is the nexus of political pedigree and petroleum plunder. November 22, 1910, a borrowed train slips from Hoboken, New Jersey under cover of dusk. Aboard, Aldrich himself, balding and imperious. A. Piat Andrew, Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, a Harvard economist with a mustache for days. Henry Davison, J.P. Morgan's right-hand enforcer. Frank Vanderlip, President of National City Bank, Rockefeller's money funnel. Charles Norton, First National Bank's chief, another Morgan minion. And Benjamin Strong, a Wall Street wizard soon to helm Morgan's Bankers Trust. Paul Warburg, the German-Jewish émigré and Kuhn, Loeb & Co. partner. The intellectual architect of central banking, schooled in Europe's Rothschild rotations. Joins mid-journey, smuggling in his blueprint for a European-style reserve. 6 men, all proxies for the money trust, Morgan, Rockefeller, Rothschild tendrils entwined. Their cover? A quail-shooting expedition for 6 of the richest men in the country, as Vanderlip later quipped in his memoirs. No stenographers, no aides, just bourbon, birdshot, and a cipher code for the press. If queried, they were Nelson, Aldrich, and party. Educational aside, this was no idle retreat. Jekyll Island, the winter playground of Vanderbilts and Astors, hosted the exclusive Jekyll Island Club, a 10,000-acre enclave of Moorish palaces and polo fields, bought in 1886 by Carnegie and his ilk as a bulwark against the vulgar masses. Here, amid 500 imported Italian olive trees. And a clubhouse of Tiffany glass, the plot thickens. For 9 days, they sequester in the club's library, poring over ledgers by lamplight, drafting what Vanderlip called the most important and far-reaching legislation in the last century. The result, the Aldrich Plan, a serpentine scheme for a National Reserve Association, 15 regional branches under a central board, empowered to issue currency, clear checks, and, crucially, wield the discount window as a leash on liquidity. Stockholder banks would own it, directors elected by them, the government, a mere fig leaf. Cynical gloss. Philanthropy? Hardly. This was cartelization codified, the bankers, stung by 1907's chaos, scheming to socialize losses while privatizing gains, all while Aldrich's mustache twitched in feigned disinterest. Back to the mainland by December 1910, the conspirators scatter, Aldrich to his Alabama hideaway for revisions, the rest to Manhattan's marbled mausoleums. The plan leaks in January 1912 via the Wall Street Journal and a fiery New York Journal exposé, branding it a scheme to turn the government over to the big bankers. Progressives howl, William Jennings Bryan thunders. Against the money devil, the Pujo Committee, that congressional bloodhound, summons Vanderlip and Norton, who stonewall with scripted amnesia. We discuss duck recipes, Vanderlip deadpans in testimony, a lie so bald it borders on performance art. The Aldrich Plan gutters in the 1912 election smoke. Wilson's Democrats sweep, Bryan tapped as Secretary of State, vowing to neuter the beast. Yet resurrection lurks. Enter Carter Glass, Virginia's banking maven, and Robert Owen, Oklahoma's populist senator, reformers in rhetoric, if not in root. They exhume the corpse, reanimating it as the Federal Reserve Act. 12 regional banks, a Federal Reserve Board in Washington, 7 appointed by the president, but bankers' allies nonetheless, and a veneer of public oversight. Warburg, the ghost in the machine, lurks as consultant, his fingerprints on every elastic clause. Signed by Wilson on December 23, 1913, Christmas Eve's gift to Mammon, amid filibuster fury and a Senate clerk's midnight gavel. The creature stirs. By 1914, the Fed issues its first notes. By 1920, it engineers the 20s boom on credit fumes. The legacy? A century of cycles scripted in secret. The Fed's easy money inflates. The 20s bubble then tightens the noose for the Great Depression. 25% unemployment, breadlines snaking 5 miles. It saves the system in 2008 with $16 trillion in loans, mostly to foreign banks per audits, and in 2020 conjures $4 trillion from ether to prop zombie core. Inflation? The Fed's silent tax, eroding wages while asset bubbles fatten the 1%. Educational epilogue. Ostensibly independent, the Fed's board is a revolving door. Greenspan to Goldman, Yellen to Yale, Powell a Carlyle Group alum. It stabilizes by design, yet panics recur like clockwork, each bailout a transfusion to the vampire class. Vanderlip confessed in 1935, "I do not feel it is any exaggeration to speak of our secret expedition to Jekyll Island as the actual conception of what eventually became the Federal Reserve System." Cynical valediction. For all its marble gravitas, the Fed is Jekyll's creature reanimated, a monster of mandate devouring sovereignty in the name of prudence. It preaches equilibrium while engineering inequality, a hierarchy of the ledger where the torch of sound money gutters in the gale of fiat fancy. Charming in its chicanery, calculated in its conquest. The island's quails still scatter, but the real hunt claimed the Republic's fiscal soul. That's our clandestine chronicle of the Jekyll Island creature, the Fed, that hydra-headed horror born in bankers' whispers. If this dispatch debased your dollar illusions, subscribe to the Stateless Standard for more merciless myth-busting. Comment below, stability or swindle? Like, share, and return as we illuminate another empire of artifice. Until then, audit your allegiances. Stay sovereign, stay stateless, stay free.